Hello, Rajesh. You're on mute.
Hi, Neil. Yeah, I can see you guys. You can see me well?
Yeah, we can see you. I'm just.
That's good.
One sec. अरे हे कसं आहे आता डुप्लिकेट कसं करायचं
हे त्यांची विंडो आहे ना
हो हे तिकडे पाहिजे ना पण
हां लॉंग प्रेस करा लॉंग प्रेस
ओके आणि आपल्याला विंडो प्रेझेंटेशन टाकायची तर तिकडे शेअर करावं लागेल
हां पहिले आपले शेअर मध्ये जाऊन आपली फाईल हे करावं लागेल
ओके
पहिले मग त्याचे
हां so once he disconnects we can share okay so yeah Rajesh your screen now visible on the big screen can you see it or no
No, you need to stand in front of the screen and speak so that then the camera shifts accordingly. Okay, so I can see the screen then.
So now, yeah, yes, the two building mechanical engineers who have come in. Please occupy your seats.
Yeah, I can see the screen now. Good.
So does that mean we will need to stand here when you're speaking or what?
When you are speaking, you need to stand in front of the camera and the screen.
Yeah, so I can stand here when you're speaking.
Yeah.
So you can see what is visible.
No. I mean, I just wanted to see the screen, so you don't have to stand when I am presenting. You're good sitting wherever you want to. No problem.
Okay. Good.
Okay, great.
We will keep the screen here, and then we'll wait for people to come in.
Yeah. So probably 6:30, I will make the announcement first. We'll wait for a couple of minutes and then we'll start. Okay. So I'll just mute myself and I stop the video for the time being, and I'll switch on again at 6:30.
Okay, fine.
So how many people have gathered now, Anil?
We have 4 and 2 of us 6.
Great. Okay.
So Umesh, Abhijit, Kavi, Saukat Ali and Santosh are here. We have the attendance sheet that's moving around. And I think so we also have to sign, is it not? Okay. Zoom में चालू है सर Zoom से चालू है काढू शकत नाही ना
हा होईल ना मी आहे वरती आणि त्याला स्केचिंग वरती नेऊ शकतो त्याच्या बाजूला मॅक्सिमम
अरे जिसका मीटिंग है वो लोग भी है नहीं। सेल्फी नहीं कर रहे थे मालूम है। फॉर्म लेके सेल्फी नहीं करना चाहिए। फॉर्म लेके किया अभी। Why did you go back? Zoom people have joined, no? Yeah, no. So many people have joined. Redmi. सर आ गया तो 100% उधर ही होगा। एक्चुअली 50% है, बाकी 50% वाला है नहीं लगता। उधर भी है लीडर लीडर बन जाए ऐसा। एटलीस्ट फोटो लेगा तो मालूम पड़ेगा पता। Chat. No, Rajesh is not well. He's on Zoom. He's logged in.
Hi Gayatri, I'm pretty much on the call, so I should be starting in just about a minute now. So as we get to 6:30.
Are you feeling better?
Yeah, much better than morning. Yeah, thanks. I'm glad to see you back in the office. I hope the conference was good.
It was very good.
Wonderful. Okay, good evening, guys. It's nearly 6:30 p.m. now. I welcome you all on behalf of the Institute of Civil Engineers. I would like to just give a minute or two for more people to join in, and then probably just a couple of minutes past 6:30, I think we should be able to start. So please bear with me for some more time so that then more people can join us. We have had some very large number of people wanting to join. So within Black and Beach as well as outside of Black and Beach. So thanks a lot for showing your interest. We'll join in another couple of minutes from now, and we should be able to start with our event. Thanks.
This is the camera. 360 degrees. Everyone, please make sure you sign the attendance sheet, which is floating around somewhere with Harshada right now.
So good evening, everybody. Thanks for joining us for this 18th Genesis Tech Talks series. I welcome you all on behalf of the Institution of Civil Engineers. I would like to do a very quick introduction about the institution itself. Then we'll move on to a presentation by Shatadeepa and followed by Anil Singh. So we'll just quickly run through a brief introduction. So I am Rajesh Patwardhan. I'm the regional representative of IC for Mumbai region. And I'm glad to share with you that the local association itself has been very active during the last couple of years. We have had some very interesting events and discussions and site visits also, which I am going to share in just a while from now. For the information for everybody, we have 3 mentors within the region itself. And I'm sort of hoping that each one of you will be able to connect to these mentors. One of those 3 approved mentors includes myself as well. So if you have any questions about professional registrations and any support needed, I'll be more than happy to guide any one of you. So those are my coordinates. Feel free to contact me and I'll be more than happy to help. So what is ICE? So we are an internationally respected, very well known 200-year-old body for civil engineers. We specialize, obviously, as the title says, we specialize in civil engineering and across practically all segments within civil engineering. We are very proud to be the voice of infrastructure. Our engineers are actually closely associated with the government in the UK and help making policies around betterment of civil engineering industry itself, including some very interesting suggestions that the IC actually provides to the UK government. We have close to 92,000 members across 162 countries, and we are very proud with the kind of membership we have across the globe and the kind of presence we have. Within the Mumbai region itself, we are about 200 plus members, and that's sort of broadly the profile of memberships that we have within the IC in the Mumbai region. So a couple of years, about 3 years back, we launched the Genesis TechTalk series itself. This is obviously the 18th edition of the Genesis TechTalk, and I'm quite glad to let everybody know over here is this has been pretty successful. We have had a plethora of very interesting discussions through this platform. We have been able to connect with people from different, reasonably diverse industries. In fact, the one that you see in the picture is about green belt, a qualification program, a white belt qualification program using Six Sigma as a concept for innovation. So we have had some very interesting discussions, including discussions about metro. We have had a chance to visit a metro station. I mean, this was sort of a tunnel under construction where TBM was being used. So the picture on the right is the picture from the site visit that we did at the Nayanagar station, and you can actually see the northbound tunnel under construction over here, and we actually could see the TBM. The one in the center is basically within the head section of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. This is the Statue of Unity, and that was pretty interesting site visit as well. So we have had some very highly cherishing moments within the IC Mumbai, and we are pretty proud to share with everybody that we are connected to the consulting and the construction industry pretty well through our professional memberships and also through the synergies that we are able to develop across the industry. Benefits of membership, I think like many other professional institutions, IC brings a lot of benefits to the membership, and some of these benefits include providing access to some very interesting literature through its monthly magazine called The New Civil Engineer. IC rewards, IC Benevolent Fund is again a big plus that is offered to the members of the IC, and you'll probably hear more about the benevolent fund from Anil Singh subsequently in his presentation as well. CPD is something that is pretty important, and again, we'll hear more about what CPD really means from Anil in the subsequent discussions. So I'll not dwell too much on this particular slide, but we'll probably know more once Anil talks about some of these aspects. So with that very brief introduction to IC itself, I'm pretty glad to hand over the baton to Shatadeepa, who is going to talk about her experience of becoming professionally registered through CIWEM, which is again one of the institutions which affords professional registrations to the Engineering Council of UK. We'll hear and learn more about it from Shatadeepa. Shatadeepa, over to you. I'll stop sharing my screen now.
Thank you, Rajesh, for giving me an opportunity to talk about my professional registration journey in this forum. So good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be here. Let me give a very brief introduction about myself, those who know me and those who don't know me. I am Shatadeepa. I am a civil engineer. I have about 15 years of work experience. I have been working in Black Veatch since 2007, and I'm working in water department. So that was very brief one. So let's move on to today's agenda. Yeah. Today's agenda, the first thing I will share about my story, my professional journey story, and I will also share my lessons learned during this process and the mandatory competences required for CIWEM and for Engineering Council UK. After me, Anil will cover why this chartership is important and what are the benefits, and he will conclude with his summary. And followed by there will be question and answering session. So let me begin with my journey towards chartership. As I mentioned, I joined Black Veatch in 2007, and after joining, I observed that some of my seniors were becoming member of various institutions in the UK, and they were advancing their career by becoming chartered engineer. So that has motivated me to become a chartered engineer. Apart from that, chartered engineership provides the competence and the commitment to the international way. So it also provides the evidence of the skill sets. And moreover, it brings the confidence. So I was so much inspired to become a chartered engineer, and I put my first step to become a graduate member. And that was the time of 2010 to 2013. Some of our senior engineers already became chartered engineers. So I was also working towards to become chartered engineer, and in CIWEM, I was doing through CIWEM, as already Rajesh mentioned. CIWEM is the chartered institution of water and environmental management. So at that time, there were 14 mandatory competences. One had to fulfill those criteria. So first, I had to fulfill those criteria of mandatory competences, and after the form is filled, I have to send it to CIWEM, and if they approve it, they will call for a professional review interview. And in Engineering Council, after assessing the review, they are happy about it, they will give us the chartered engineering status. If another way, they're not happy, or after assessing the form itself, they feel there are some shortcomings in competency, they might reject. So it's a laborious process. Now, I started writing my mandatory competences in 2013, and it was approved. Now, when it was approved, soon they called me for the professional review interview. I appeared for the interview. Honestly speaking, interview was not that great, but I hoped I will pass it. You know what? Alas, that wasn't the reality. Engineering Council UK felt that I had shortcomings in one competency, that was B1, and it was an unsuccessful journey. I was rejected for only one competency, that was B1, and B1 was for to identify potential projects and opportunities. It was a very heart-wrenching moment for me. I could not take that failure. It was very hard for me to take that failure. And I was thinking, why did this happen to me? And I was doing self-pity. 1 year on, I did nothing, just nothing, and I was sitting with that failure. One fine day, I had a quiet introspection, and I was asking myself, why did not I take that challenge? It is a challenging process, it is a rigorous process, but having said that, it is possible, it is achievable. So that day on, I said to myself, now I am giving myself permission to fail. It sounds very weird, right? You are giving yourself permission to fail. But yes, that's the truth. I said, now on, I am giving myself to fail, which means I am giving myself permission to improve and excel. And I did that. Okay. So what happens next? I shifted my direction. I shifted my focus from self-pity to action. And that day on, I took charge of myself. Now I rephrased the word fail to the first attempt in learning. That was my take on from this past experience. Now I would like to quote few lines from Nobel laureate Samuel Beckett, which says, ever tried, ever failed, try again, fail, fail better. That's what I did. Now during this journey, I had few lessons learned. So that experience gave me the lessons learned. What I learned from that in-depth understanding of competency requirements, that I did not get properly. I missed that part, and that was the vital part. So my suggestions would be, if you go for CIWEM or any institutions, you have to know thoroughly about the requirement first. So to emphasize in this, I'm going to cover in my next slides some more points on that. Okay, just to emphasize this. Remember, I will cover Engineering Council's UK's. Alright, coming to the other internal thing, is very much internal, and that was my part, right? Here I was. Okay, now during this process, I mapped myself. What was the reason that I was not taking that challenge? The first point was the fear factor, the fear of failure. What if I fail? If I fail again, what would people say? People might say, Shadavika, she is the dumbest. She has no capacity. As if the entire world is calling me a loser. It was all in my head. No one was telling me anything. I was so delusional. And I pushed myself hard and hard to come out of this zone and coming out to the positive zone. So that was very important for me, like coming out of this failure. Next point is fear of public speaking. I believe many of us have it, right? Okay. I was the worst speaker and I'm still learning. So public speaking was never my forte. I used to get nervous very much. And I told myself on that day, it's okay to get nervous, but I will acquire the skill to control my emotion. The other point is invest time to develop skills. if I assessed again, I realized that during those days, I did not spend much time to improve my skills. So there were gaps. And next time, I thought, now this is the time I should invest more time to improve my skills. And those time, I rushed it. Now I will not rush. I'll take my own time, I'll improve it, and then I will sit for the examination. Now, other important thing is identifying competency gap. This is very key thing because during this process, I understood that I had shortcomings in understanding of project management and commercial management. So to improve that, I joined Project Management Institute like PMI, and after becoming member of PMI in 2016 mid, I became PMP in 2017 April end. So that process helped me to understand the project management aspect. Apart from that, as I mentioned that I had shortcoming in B1, so every project I used to put into, I tried to think, can I put that in that B1 competency? So my suggestion would be, if you think that you have some competency gap or some skill set required, talk to your supervisors, talk to your seniors so that you get that. Ultimately, you should be aware of the all competency requirement. You have to write your own mandatory competences, and you have to face your own interview. No one is going to do it for you. So you should understand it very clearly, very thoroughly. There should be absolutely clarity on your mind. Now coming to effective communication. Communication needs to be very effective because during the interview, interviewers will look for very appropriate and accurate to the point answers. They will not appreciate lengthy answers. So the trick here is less is more. To improve that, I had gone through several mock tests, and those had helped me enormously to overcome those problems. So I will also recommend you to go for as many as possible mock interviews you feel required. This might be, some people might not require as many. That will fine-tune your answers and arguments. So when you go to the interview, you will feel very confident and comfortable. Now, also another thing to improve my communication skill, I had joined Toastmasters Club in 2014, and I became competent communicator in Toastmasters International. So having those certifications of PMP and competent communicator in Toastmasters International, they helped me not only to overcome those shortfalls, they also helped me to give the evidence of CPD, that is continuous professional development. I guess Rajesh and Anil is going to cover later on, but that was also very important. Again, coming back to my scenario, now I did all that. Now, in 2019, early this year, I started writing my mandatory competences. You can understand that I started the journey in 2013 and 2019, these many years of gap, and the competency requirements which were earlier 14, that had become 17. And since there was a lot of gaps, I did not feel that I should give all examples. I should give recent examples which should make my case very strong. So I did everything all over again, starting from the scratch. So again, I went through all this rigorous process. But this time, very quickly, CIWEM accepted my form. And they soon asked me to come for the interview. And you know what? This time it was successful. So that's the story about it. Now let me take you through this mandatory competency requirement. I will give very briefly, as I mentioned, that please you note like if you are going to some other institute, so there would be different. But today I'm going to cover Engineering Council UK's mandatory competencies. There are 17 mandatory competencies, as I already mentioned, and there are 5 pillars. So each pillars have 1, 2, sometimes 3, 4 competency requirements. Here we have to comply, we should have the skills and evidence for all the competency requirements. So I'll go one by one from A to E. There are 5 as I mentioned. The first one is knowledge and understanding. A1 is theoretical knowledge and advanced technology. So here we have to provide the evidence that how we are striving to enhance our theoretical knowledge could be by doing some research or experimentation during our project examples. It could be even our broaden and deepen understanding of standards, codes, or specifications. But you have to provide such examples how you are striving to improve your theoretical knowledge. So those who are postgraduate engineers, they can also give the examples of their thesis done during their post-graduation. That could also be given. Now coming to A2, that is creative and innovative solution. So this is very straightforward. You can understand it's creative and innovative solutions, which means I believe like any of the complex projects should definitely have creative and innovative solutions, right? Because there would be many constraints and we try to exploit those constraints to opportunity through this creative and innovative solutions. So try to think in that prospect, like which were very toughest or challenging project and how you created innovative solutions. All right, coming back to B, that is technical and practical application of engineering. The first one, B1, is potential projects and opportunity. It is like we have to demonstrate with our own knowledge and understanding in company's position, like to assess that there are any viability of the opportunities. It's like marketing, tendering of any new product, process, or for that matter, services also. It could be even if our involvement in the specifications in any new product, process, or services. That way we have to write. Now coming back again, B2, that is appropriate research, design, and development. So it talks about research, so it could be data analysis, it could be any tests, inspections, then any sort of investigations, surveys. We do a lot of value engineering. Basically, it's all about the conceptual design. So B2, very simply, if I have to tell you, that's conceptual design. B3, it is implementation of design solutions and evaluate effectiveness. So here, what they want, it's like how we are giving, how we are saying that our design is accurate, appropriate, and practical. So with due consideration of health, safety, sustainability, then full life cost. So these are the examples. Like we interpret the outcome of the design, right? In the beginning itself. So that's the interpretation of it. That is if it is effective or not. Now coming to that C. C is responsibility management and commercial leadership. So C is all about technical as well as commercial leadership skills. The first one is plan and effective project implementation. So this is a holistic overview of the project management. So C, project management in a broad spectrum. It could be your involvement in planning stage, execution stage, say for any risk identification or mitigation. If you handle some stakeholders, stakeholder management, say for example. It could be even your involvement in procurement. So you can decide which of your project management area you can talk about, give examples with the coordination with some technical aspects. The first one is that. The second one, plan, budget, organize, direct, control, task, people, and resources. So they are talking about more in details. Now we come to from the broad spectrum of project management, it's coming back to little narrow. Like you have to talk about, say, for cost, schedule, and they're like little sorted out, right? From beginning broad spectrum to now how you have managed costs, say for example, or schedule, or maybe you have controlled people, resources. So that's about this one. Now C3, lead teams and develop staffs. So it's about development, team development, or staff development. It's straightforward, right? The last one, that is C4, this is continuous improvement through quality management. It talks about quality management. So our understanding of processes, systems we follow in Black Veatch, the QMS system, QA/QC process, give evidence like how we are following it, how we are contributing it, because you are contributing towards improvement. So give those examples. Now in section D, this is communication and interpersonal skills. So this the entire section, D section is about our soft skills. The first one is communicate English with others at all levels. It's very straightforward. I don't think I have to elaborate about it to understand it. As simple as it is. Present and discuss proposal. This is our presentation skill. Then it could be your negotiation skill. It could be even your debate skill, how you convince your client. So give such strong examples. And I believe everybody knows their strength. So give in that way. Demonstrate personal and social skills. This is purely interpersonal skill. Coming to E, this is professional commitment. First one, E1 is comply with relevant codes of conduct. Like we all know the Black Veatch has its own codes of conduct. Similarly, all the organizations have their own codes of conduct. So we need to adhere with it. And if you are a member of various other institutions, so you need to comply with those standards. So give those examples. Say for instance, I'm a member of PMI and I'm also a member of, apart from this organization, I'm also a member of CIWEM. So I have to comply with those standards. Now, E2, this is health, safety, and welfare. This is very important one. Please emphasize that because I believe you definitely get some questions in this section. It's very important one. Now, I had UK experience, so I had the knowledge about CDM regulations. So those who have UK examples, you have to know very thoroughly about CDM regulations, and you have to give that you are committed to health, safety, and environment. You show like your commitment towards it, and from that journey of this identification and mitigations, where you have made value into it, made some value. Now, other than that, you should know about the various best practices, regulations, legislations, and I believe everyone, every civil engineers, not just civil engineers, everyone in this platform have health and safety training. That is also a very key one, demonstrating that we are competent, we had trainings, right? So give those examples. And if you also have extra knowledge, I'm just taking something else, like if you have the knowledge of OSHA and HOSOS, that also give another weightage. So you can write those again. E3, that is contribute to sustainable development. So here we have to demonstrate with the examples that we can efficiently how efficiently and effectively utilize the resources so that they are beneficial in the social, economical, and environmental outcome. Remember, these three things is very important. But whenever we talk about sustainability, remember global warming, why we are doing. We are doing social, environmental, and economical. And we are thinking about our future generation. So if you have like carbon footprint calculations and all, this can be given as an example. Like I gave those examples, and they sort of liked that example. And now coming back to continuing professional development, I already mentioned you that PMP certification and Toastmaster certification helped me to provide the evidence. Apart from that, whatever the training I had in Black Veatch, those examples I have provided. So there is no hard and fast rule. You have to keep learning it. They only want to see that we are up to date in the market. We are striving to enhance our competency, our professional development. It should not be stopped. It is a continuous journey. So for that matter, any training, any webinar, any seminar attending, those examples are valid here. Last one, professional ethics. I think it is again very straightforward. I don't have to mention anything on that. So we need to adhere with this. And so that's all about me. And so before I conclude, I just like to say that if you are a member of an institution and you would like to be a chartered engineer, so do it holistically, do it very systematically. If you become successful, that's amazing. But that's not everything. If it is not that way, that is not the end. Ultimately, in any examination, there are two outcomes, pass or fail. But here, if it is not successful and we accept it or just do nothing about it, and the other way is we accept it, but we bounce back. The kind of choice we take, that makes the difference. So that's all about today's presentation, about my journey, about the learning, and I shared the competency requirement as per Engineering Council UK. So I hope that was helpful. And now moving ahead, I will hand it over to Anil. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Shatadeepa. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So that was a very inspiring sort of sharing of experience. It makes my work much more easier. I don't have to sell being a chartered engineer, how useful it is. That was very inspiring. So my agenda is quite simple in terms of why we need to do professional registration and what are the benefits. And then we'll hand it over back to Rajesh for some closing remarks, and then we'll take questions between Rajesh, Atitra, and me. And just to disclose, there are many professionally registered professionals sitting in this audience. So I would suggest them also to answer questions. If they are complicated, easy ones we will answer. So yeah, before I start, why professional registration? One of the ways which I sort of like in the way we learn is using analogies. So the analogy I thought appropriate for this occasion was the analogy of a tomato effect. Now, does anyone know what is a tomato effect? Okay. So tomato effect is essentially a concept from the Western medical fraternity I borrowed. It's a concept which is about not adopting efficient treatment technologies or medicine, even though it is available easily, but there are beliefs, there are practices that are current due to which someone doesn't adopt it. So the reference to the name of tomato effect is American. It dates back to the 1600s, 1800s time frame, wherein even though in the European continent, tomatoes were very, very popular as a food, the Americans thought that tomatoes are poisonous because of their origin. So for nearly 250 years, they didn't eat tomatoes, and that's how this concept was born. And the medical fraternity used it in different concepts or treatments, like for the example of treatment of scurvy, which is a disorder, or in after investigations, it is a problem due to deficiency in vitamin C or ascorbic acid. And at that time, it was thought that simple lemon juice or nimbu pani can be very helpful in treating it, but that was not thought as a treatment because it was very simple. So that mindset was not there. So tomato effect is used in the medical fraternity for that sort of area. So later on, everyone adopts it. So that is very relevant to what we are talking today. Right now, we may think professional registration is not important. It is not relevant. But let me tell you, even in India, a lot of organizations are focusing on having professionally registered professionals in their organizations. They are investing a lot, right from the north to the south. I don't want to take names of organizations, but everyone is investing as an organization in development of professions because of many reasons, and we'll look at that. So really, this is something about tomato effect. I didn't want to bring on the slide and talk about it. But so why professional registration? Where is this coming from? So this is, as you're talking, Shaktika mentioned, UK. This pretty much originated in UK. And there is a lot of emphasis on it because of regulations and requirements. Now, many of you would understand the industry, how it works, as an engineer. The whole water industry in UK is regulated, and we are talking from a water industry point of view, but the regulations apply to all industries in the UK and the European Union. What is important is the regulations have something called as duty holders. So there are different duty holders, right from the client to the contractor to the designer to the supplier. Everyone has specific duties, and the regulations require that someone competent needs to do that particular role. And how we define competency sitting in India? We cannot say, okay, we have done from, say, IIT Bombay or VJTI or XYZ college, and so we are competent. There is a body in UK called the Engineering Council UK, which has this whole program of how you can reach up to being a C-Eng for engineers, Eng-Tech for technicians, and so on. For different roles, there is a professional registration that is applicable. Whatever is relevant for each one of us, we need to adopt that and go through that route. So where these regulations have changed is between 2007, which was the earlier version, and 2015, the current version. What has been added is for design work or any work being done outside of Great Britain, the whole regulation covers that component. So we are talking from an Indian perspective. A lot of work from the UK or associate countries, where a lot of standards for EU or UK standards are adopted, like Middle East, Asia Pacific region, even in India, some clients want EU standards or British standards earlier, as they were called. A lot of these clients want people to have this professional registration, and we'll look at that separately. So that's where this is coming from, of how do we define competency. I recollect we were doing a program for a UK client, and we were asked to provide a list of competent professionals working. And we had very senior professionals working who had 20 years of experience, 25 years of experience. And we had to provide to the end client, which was a water company, of who were professionally registered, whether CIMechE or IMechE or InchTech. And that is how we were authorized to do the work directly by the end client. So it is very much here. Also, direct experience of a client in the Middle East. They required specifically chartered engineers to be there in key roles. Otherwise, they were not entertaining them for interviews. And we had to send in chartered engineers for those roles. Otherwise, we were not going to be in line to win that project. So this is very much current, very much in demand by the clients all around, including India. Some of the clients in their RFPs are now asking for CIMechE through Engineering Council UK if you don't have a master's. So that's how relevant it is. Okay, so I've just broken down the benefits. There are many, many benefits, but I've broken them down into two sort of compartments. One is the personal benefit, because all of us want what is it for me, how it will benefit me. And then the organization can come. So with that approach, there are lots of benefit as an individual. The first and foremost, which Shatika covered to a great extent, is about what it does to you. And speaking from my experience, it really develops you in your thought process. The way you think, the way you approach to situations, it really changes that perspective. And the key for that is doing the process diligently and honestly. If you do the process for the sake of doing, that learning will not come, those insights will not come. But if you go through the process of understanding those competencies and looking at your experience, you will undergo a transformation in your thought process to even the extent of documenting your CV in a different format than what it is current. And that is what I also did. Also, what happens is, as you go through the process, you will start understanding what really you have done and what you have not done. So you will start understanding where are your own gaps, and you start looking at opportunities, speaking to your supervisors, speaking to your seniors, line managers, whoever they are in your organization, of how to develop further. And that is where a lot of growth happens as a professional. Here there are material benefits in terms of employability rates. We already looked at examples of how clients are demanding it. And if you're a CIMechE, definitely you are having an upper hand on positions which are there in the market. If you do a job search on any of the job portals, you'll find the job description having CIMechE to be preferable. Whether the job opening is in the Middle East or in UK with the current AMP cycle starting next year. I'm not advocating you apply, but that is what it is. Currently, the demand is there. Impact on salary. There is a survey done in 2018 by the Engineering Council UK. You can look at it in its website, which says that if you're a CIMechE and you're not a CIMechE, there's an 18% salary difference. Okay, 1/8. Recognition across the globe, we have already looked at that. You get wider reach, wider footprint, and professionals appreciate you if you are a CIMechE. I'm not getting into the technicalities of what is a CIMechE, what is an IMechE, what is the difference. But if you are a CIMechE, it's a differentiating factor. Contribution to institution activities. So like these activities, and Rajesh would cover it at the end, there are lots of opportunities that institutions have different activities, whichever institute you go through. And whether it is ICE, like this forum is organized by ICE, or IET, or maybe IStructE, or whichever institution is applicable to you, relevant to you based on your background. Those institution activities and communities you can participate in, and you get a lot of benefits that way. CPDs, Shatika covered it about CPDs being a driver as a competency. But CPDs are also required for you to keep your CN status alive and active. Every year, you're supposed to fill in a form online, generally, of how many training you have done, what courses you have taken, how are you developing yourself as a professional on a continuous basis. And sessions like these, activities like these, along with the training, technical, non-technical, management, whatever training, those are all relevant. Community activities are relevant because you're learning something as part of the CPDs. And when I was preparing for this, I got to know of this benevolent fund, which is quite unique, which is accessible to even professionals outside of UK. And I have a slide devoted to that. The next one. So every institution, just to give you a perspective, Engineering Council is there right at the top, and we've got different institutions like CIWEM, which Shatikripa and I both are chartered engineers through CIWEM because of our backgrounds. Some of us are through IT, Rajesh is through ICE. Similarly, you may choose as appropriate whichever is the right institution, and there's a whole list of institutions based on your background, whether it's a civil, structural, mechanical, electrical, instrumentation, whatever is your discipline, you can apply. Even it is available for professionals with a different background like BSc, etc. So benevolent fund is a very interesting concept. It's like some sort of an insurance-based approach that these institutions have, where the members contribute themselves, but it is accessible in case of something like a disability happens, there's a job loss, there's a process that has to be adopted, but you get a lot of support financially for any loss of job for whatever reasons, or there is a temporary disability, permanent disability. So the institution supports you financially, and there's lots of stories, like the monthly payments, the bills can be paid for. So that is very interesting concept which I got to know when I was preparing for this presentation. As an organization, definitely there are benefits because the organization can bid for more projects in different continents, in different regions, and it just widens the portfolio. It also opens up new markets about different clients, and the main important is about retaining professionals, because there is tremendous growth of the professional as you continuously work on your gaps. Even after you become a CING, you start understanding where are your gaps, because you need to maintain the CING to be current. So you need to be current with the latest technologies. There are magazines, there are communications, a lot of things that happen which you get access to once you become a CING. And then you can start supporting others, you gain knowledge about the whole process in a different way when you start supporting others, when you start helping others to achieve their chartership status. So this is what really I had. I'll just quickly summarize and then hand it over to Rajesh for closing, and then we'll take question answers. So really we looked at in this session, we will put a Shatikripa's story, which is quite unique and interesting about how she moved in 2013, I remember, and then 2019. So it's a gap of nearly 6 years, wherein she has seen the lows and highs of the CE story. She quickly explained the mandatory competencies, 14 of them. These are specific to Engineering Council UK, 17 of them, sorry, currently. But remember, every institution will have their own way of approaching of how they link their form, how they link their processes with the requirements of the Engineering Council UK. So if you approach through IIT, you have a slightly different method. If you approach through IC, there's a slightly different method. If you approach approach to CIWEM, there's a slightly different method. But ultimately, the outcome is the same, that is, you get your CIMechE. So focus on the outcome, follow the processes that are prescribed by the respective institutions that you are applying. Remember, understanding of competencies is the key. And that is what Shaktiba tried to cover in terms of when you fill up the form, make sure you're writing your experience. You're not writing someone else's experience because that can be easily caught. So there are tricks and tips which can be shared in the mock interviews once you reach that process, once you reach the step. Also, if you have a supporter or a sponsor, which is as required by the different institutions, the supporter or the sponsor can guide you of how to fill the form. That is very beneficial. Try to engage on a continuous basis with the sponsor. Try to identify one sponsor because different sponsors will have different perspectives and you may end up getting confused. So try to have a main sponsor who will guide you through the process. And then some institutions require to have 2 or 3 supporters. Then try to work with those second and third supporters so that you get the appropriate support and you are successful in the whole process. We looked at why it is important and what are the benefits in a sort of essential or a brief way. And now I'll hand it over to Rajesh for closure, and then we'll take questions. Okay, Rajesh, over to you. We'll stop sharing.
Hey guys, yeah, thanks. I'm back. So thanks a lot, Shatadeepa and Praveen. I think you did a fantastic job. I'll just quickly share my screen back with you guys. Just let me know once it's visible to you.
Yeah. We can see the screen. Rajesh, you need to go into a screen slide share mode.
Yeah. So just give me a second. Right. So this is where I left. So I mean, I think we have already heard different terminologies for those who really haven't been through the process of understanding the chartership, the way chartership goes, the application goes, how you move from being a graduate member to to becoming a full chartered member. Now I am going to present over here the procedures associated with the Institute of Civil Engineers, how that works within the ICE framework itself. But it's essentially an extension to what Shatadeepa has already shared with everybody over here. So there are various grades of memberships, as you see on the screen right now. We start with graduate membership, which is typically you just submit an application. Your application is actually supported with the details of scripts associated with your graduation studies, the subjects that you had undertaken at the stage of at the graduation or post-graduation level, and then on the basis of that, the institution will actually award a graduate membership to start with. That's not the full membership of ICE. By becoming a by adopting the first step, the only thing that you are able to use is the GMICE tag, which means that you are a graduate member of IC. To become a full member, you have to go through the entire process of becoming a chartered engineer. So please bear that in mind, because that's slightly different from some of the other institutions, like for example, CIWEM or IIT. For IIT, you can become a member, full member, without actually becoming a professional registered member. So IC requires you to firstly become a graduate member. If you are a technician, if you are an engineering technician, then you can become an IMechE. Or if you're a professionally qualified person, either having a diploma degree, or a degree, either graduate degree or a postgraduate degree, then you should be able to move to the CIMechE grade pretty soon. And I have some fantastic news for you guys, and I'll be talking about that in terms of CIMechE specifically. And then the highest membership grade that actually exists within IC is called the fellow. You will have similar kind of fellowships awarded by other institutions, including IIT, I think there are fellowships awarded across all the institutions which are affiliated to EC UK. And typically, fellowship is the highest grade of membership that you can avail within any institution. So what are the steps associated with getting professionally qualified? So essentially, stage one is make sure that you create a strong educational base, which will help you qualify to become a chartered engineer eventually through your professional experience. Gain the professional experience, and by gaining the professional experience, you are able to demonstrate the initial professional development as it is referred to, which is nothing but it's CPD. Except that it's CPD pre-chartership. So IPD is nothing but initial professional development, and it's nothing but CPD pre-chartership. That's how it's looked at. So that's sort of stage two. Stage three is, once you have completed all the forms, all the formalities, etc., you submit your application. Then the stage three is actually appearing for a professional review. And once you're through with your professional review, you get an okay from the institution. Then you become professionally qualified. So those are the 4 stages of working from becoming from being a graduate member to a chartered member, and that's pretty straightforward, very simple stuff. What's critical is all throughout the process is the CPD, essentially making sure that you look at your competencies. I think Shatideepa has highlighted pretty adequately. You try to understand what those competencies are, and I think in my view, I use the competency matrix very much to help me myself guide to establish gaps in things that I don't do professionally or I haven't done professionally. So I think that can be used as a very good framework even for setting up your own personal goals within your own respective organizations. I think each and every company across the globe nowadays is actually adopting very strong goal setting practices for each year, and they would like their professionals to adopt to demonstrate that they are meeting those goals and objectives which are business oriented. But while doing so, they can actually also help you achieve some of your professional goals as you move from being a graduate member to being a chartered member. So moving on, so from an IC's perspective, IC looks at the 17 EC UK attributes into 9. And they have sort of compressed all of those 17 into these 9 attributes that you see on the screen right now. So they're pretty straightforward, nothing very complicated. I believe that we have, I think, the audience from Black Veatch, from MOTS, probably L&T, and most of the reputed companies who have very strong business practices, including very strong engineering practices, practices associated with quality management, practices associated with health and safety. If you look at commercial ability, I think the contracts and stuff of that sort, it's pretty well established within each of these organizations. Sustainability is something that's a focus for practically every single person on the planet Earth, considering the kind of challenges that we are seeing with the environment, the climate change issues, and so on and so forth. So I think they're pretty much ingrained into our blood nowadays. I don't really see why anybody is sort of disassociated with sustainability itself. Interpersonal skills and communication is something that we practically do as a team member of any project. We constantly demonstrate these skills to some extent or the other. So broadly speaking, I think if you look at all those 9 different titles across those competencies, I really cannot believe that any person belonging to a reputed institution or an organization working for organizations like Black Veatch, MOTS, and others, L&T, I don't really believe that these competencies cannot be met through your regular work life. And I think so it's essentially you're gaining that knowledge, and while you gain the knowledge, you're actually demonstrating or you're already completing these competencies in some way or the other. It's just a question of mapping that experience back into these competencies and being able to demonstrate that you have met those competencies. Okay, it's as simple as that. So what kind of help is available for professionals who are actually aspiring to become chartered? So that's a link, and I will be more than happy to share this link with anybody who's interested to go through these recorded webinars for their own personal and professional advantage. Feel free to approach me and I can share that link with every single person who is interested. So that link actually provides a lot of video, and you can actually go through each of these aspects of becoming chartered, how to write exercises, routes to fellowship, talking about member assessments, attributes, CPD, what it really means, and so on and so forth. Everything is actually pretty well explained in these videos. In addition, if you feel that there are things which are not still clear, as a mentor, I will be able to help you. And I think there are a couple of other mentors within IC in the Mumbai region alone, with whom I can connect you as well, and you can actually seek some guidance from them if that's what you need. Patrick Courtney is the IC International Membership Recruitment Manager, and he's actually big time into supporting for international memberships, especially the regions that he covers is sort of, you can see those on your screen. But Patrick has been very closely associated with the India cohort of IC representative, and he's been making rounds within India to help people understand what he refers to, and what IC refers to as Career Appraisal Fast Track Workshop. I'm really glad to announce that this is something that actually IC is actually undertaking on a regular basis nowadays to help professionals quickly attain chartership. Because I think consistently IC understands and appreciates that a lot of professionals globally have the necessary know-how, they meet all the competencies because they have worked on projects that actually help them go through that learning process. It's just that they are not able to figure out what works for them to become chartered and what doesn't. And this career appraisal fast track workshop actually helps professional to understand that very quickly. Patrick performs these assessments once you are able to send him and what he refers to as the extended CV, as you see on the screen. So it's expected to be about A4, 4 pages long extended CV, which you talk about your employment history, main projects, the kind of experience you have, and so on and so forth, and send it off to Patrick. And he should be able to come back and sort of touch back with you, providing some kind of initial feedback based on your CV and tell you what's the logical way for you to go forward. And I'm really glad that IC has actually undertaken this very systematically and pretty rigorously also. In fact, just recently, Patrick was on a tour to India, where he went to places in Bangalore and in Delhi, and he demonstrated, and he actually met with some professionals who wanted some help and support through the career appraisal fast track route. So again, feel free to contact me. What you need to do is essentially develop a 4-page A4 side long extended CV and send it to Patrick. That's what is needed. Feel free to copy me into those communications so that I can subsequently follow up with Patrick and support your application as much as possible. So with that brief, I think I really thank each one of you to participate in this wonderful event today. I also thank Anil and Shatadeepa for having done a fantastic job about sharing their experience. In particular, Shatadeepa, I mean, it's not easy to really come forward and talk about gaps that you had and share that experience of learning through the whole process the way Shatadeepa did today. She did a fantastic job, so really thanks a lot to her. With that, I would really throw this panel open for questions, so feel free to ask any questions that you have going forward. Thank you. So do we have any questions? Okay, so since there are no questions from the audience, maybe I can ask a question. Does
Rajesh, I think so. There's a question online in the chat.
Yeah, I'm just trying to go there. How is professional review conducted? Okay, so so Anil, you would like to respond to that, or otherwise I can?
Yeah, I can respond from a CIWEM perspective.
Sure.
So typically, professional review is nothing but like an interview, job interview. Okay, and essentially it is around the documents that you have submitted to the institution, and there is a panel, sometimes two, sometimes three, very, very old and very, very competent, I must say, and very, very mature professionals who usually come up, and they ask you a series of questions really to assess whether whatever you have written is what you have done. And that's the whole brief. If you, I shouldn't be using the word, but if you sort of tell something which is not in line with what you have written, there are high chances that you may not get through. So that's the intent, and you should treat it like any other interview. And because there are really okay, so I think so. It's a combination because it's like the last one that we had was via Zoom call. Mine was via VC, video conferencing. At that time, Zoom didn't exist. Prior to me, professionals have traveled to UK and done a one-to-one interview. I recollect of the IIT interviews that we had in where IIT interviewers came in here for a couple of days, and we had a series of interviews that were done in our organization. So it can be a combination based on the institution that you really approach. And I think so, Rajesh, correct me if I'm wrong, with IC, there's a potential that it could happen face to face in Mumbai itself or wherever you're located.
Yes, that's absolutely right. IC currently doesn't support online interviews. They have to be in person, face to face. That's how it is done. But as Anil mentioned previously, within IC, we are actually conducting IC professional reviews in major cities, Delhi, Kolkata, in Bangalore, and in Mumbai. And within Mumbai, for the last couple of years, we have been hosting professional reviews right at Black Veatch's office in Vikhroli. And I'm really glad and very thankful to BNB management to allow that to happen. Right, so Rishikesh, you can actually unmute and ask your questions directly as well.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, there is a lot of noise around, so that's why I prefer to chat.
Yeah, you're pretty clear, Rishikesh. No problem. Please go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I've just moved to a quieter location. So another question I had was like, I do not know of anybody who can, sponsor me. So in that case, can committee or local committee members arrange sponsoring the candidate for chartership?
Sure. I mean, which institution do you belong to, Rishikesh? I mean, are you a graduate member? You're still sort of thinking about? Yeah.
No. I have overall 16 years of experience, and I'm a member of American Society of Civil Engineers as well as Institution of Engineers India.
Right, but I mean the qualifications. I mean, this whole discussion was around the Engineering Council of UK. So we are actually looking at competencies or definition of competencies, and as Shatadeepa also mentioned in her presentation, it's all around the UK-SPEC, which is the United Kingdom Standard for Professional Engineering Competence, which is a standard. It's a framework, and whatever we discussed today was actually around that framework associated with the ECUK. So, I mean, if you, so essentially charterships are actually awarded through the ECUK, and these institutions like ICE, IET, CIWEM, IChemE, IMechE, these are institutions affiliated to ECUK who have the authority to award charterships through ECUK.
Rajesh, my question was like, in my office here in New Delhi, where I work with, I do not have anybody who is already having a chartership of ECUK. So on the on the attributes form, I see at the last page, we have to write names of the sponsors who are supporting our application.
Yes.
So is it mandatory to have a chartered engineer only for that sponsorship, or my other fellows of Institution of Engineers India or anybody who has supervised my work can
So great question, Rishikesh. I mean, background-wise, are you a civil engineer or some other engineer?
Yeah, civil structural engineer.
Civil structure.
I
Okay,
work
fine.
with floor. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So Rishikesh, to answer your question, within Delhi network itself, we have got Satish Seta, who is actually the regional representative from Delhi. I can connect you with him. There are a lot of chartered engineers who are working, who are affiliated to the Delhi regional area of ICE. And I'm very sure that some of them will be able to support you. Now, from a point of view of sponsorship or mentorship, IC requires that your main sponsor has to be a chartered engineer from the Institution of Civil Engineers UK. It cannot be anybody else from any other UK institution also. They don't permit that. The co-sponsors, I mean, typically a chartership application under IC requires one main sponsor and two co-sponsors. So one of the co-sponsors or both the co-sponsors need to be chartered, and they can be from other institution which is not IC. But the main sponsor has to be a chartered member from IC. So I would strongly recommend that you connect with Satish Seta,
Okay.
who
Yeah.
is a
Yeah.
regional representative. If you can just write me an email,
Yeah.
I can help you
No,
with that. So
yeah.
connect to Satish Seta. I think he should be able to help you
Yeah. We
identify a
got.
sponsor for that.
I got information about this webinar from him only. So we are connected. So this is a better guidance. I will connect with him next week and get more information. Thank you so much.
No problem. I mean, just to
Okay.
give you a reference, there is a person who who is currently working with STUP, Ajit Saudi. He is a mentor, just like me, and you can connect with him, and probably he might be interested to help you. You need to check about his availability and willingness to support you.
Okay, sure. I'll connect with Satish and this person from Stoop also. Maybe Satish is aware of him.
Yeah, he is. He is connected
Okay.
to Ajit as well. Yeah, sure.
Okay. And just like to take this opportunity to thank all the speakers and you all for taking out this time out of your otherwise busy schedule of professional responsibilities. So, and this was quite helpful for me. Thank you.
Sure. More than glad to support Rishikesh. No problem.
Yeah.
Stay connected. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Any other questions, either online or live over there?
I don't think so. There are any questions. Everyone is clear what they have got to do.
So fantastic. So I can see a surge of applications coming through for chartership now.
Anyone has any
Sorry,
questions?
Gayatri, you were saying something, is it?
So, Rajesh, I was just trying to clarify because we do have electrical, I'm not sure, but definitely I see mechanical and instrumentation engineers for whom it may make more sense to go through the IET route. So for those engineers also, will you be able to provide the mentoring required? I'm asking this question on behalf of those people. They are not.
Yeah, I mean, as far as mentorship for undertaking chartership route through IET, I think there are a lot of people, a lot of professionals in Mumbai region itself who are IPRAs, including you, Gayatri. I mean, IPRA stands for the International Professional Registration Advisor. They are qualified. They have undertaken training to help professionals who are actually wanting to become chartered. So aspirant chartered engineers should actually approach Gayatri, and there's Praveen Patil, there is David Thomana, a lot of people in the IMechE itself. They are IPRAs, and they should be able to support applicants who are interested to work through their chartership applications. In addition, I think I think what Anil really made a very interesting point. I think every person, every professional needs to think about what's really relevant for him or her. Come to think about it, I think it's imperative that civil engineers or structural engineers apply through either IStructE or IC platform. Others like mechanical, and there is a IMechE institution also. So mechanical engineers can opt to apply through IMechE or IET. Other engineers, electronics, instrumentation, electrical engineers. I mean, IET was primarily institution of electrical engineers, which subsequently got rebranded as IET. So it was primarily IEE, Institution of Electrical Engineers. So electrical engineers, instrumentation engineers, they can definitely apply through IET. Computer engineers, they can all apply. ICT, there is a separate uh, chartership awarded to computer engineers also. So there is I think there is an MICT as well awarded by IET these days. So you can actually work with your respective mentor to figure out what works for you best. I think it's imperative that professionals really think through their choice of institution by which they need to apply to make it more career oriented, make sure that they are able to extract maximum benefit out of their membership, and make sure that it's aligned to what they think they will be doing in their career ahead. It's very important that you make the right choice and work through your chartership. I think across all of these institutions that I mentioned, there's huge support available. I can definitely talk for it myself. I can also talk on behalf of IIT because I've been the chairman of the local network for Mumbai of IIT, and I really know that IIT actually has been doing a lot of stuff to support and promote charterships through IIT as well. And we have huge quantum of IPRAs who are actually who can engage with you and support you professionally to become qualified. Any other questions from you, Gayatri? I would really like to ask the question to people online as well as who are listening to this live. I mean, does anybody feel that within those competencies that Shatadeepa mentioned or I mentioned, I mean, I can probably go back to that particular slide. Yeah.
Just hold on. We have one more question.
Oh yeah, sure.
Hi Rajesh, this is Abdul from L&T.
Yeah, Abdul. Hi.
I just want to know one thing, that when we are getting this certification from we are applying this one. So some validity, or like after 5 years we have to reappear or something. And every year we have to go through the all process.
No. Once you get your certified as a CH or IE or IMechE, you just need to once you get your certification done, you just need to keep it valid, which means that every year there's a membership fee plus a fee that you need to pay to the institute, whether it's IT or IC or CIWEM, in order to keep it valid. So there's a membership fee plus a professional registration fee. In addition, as they mentioned before, there's a CPD requirement, which means that you need to give evidence of your continuing professional development. So, you need to say during this year, I don't know whether it's yearly or it's probably yearly. You need to give evidence that, during the year, these are all the activities that I have done. There are questions that are asked. You just need to respond by giving examples, evidence of what you have done by way of continual professional development. Right? It could be attending conferences, it could be attending courses, it could be reading up technical material, it could be giving presentations, it could be volunteering, it could be a host of activities, but to present that evidence that you have been evolving in your in the path towards enhancing your professional registration. But you don't have to submit an application again or go through anything.
Yeah, I mean, from an IC's perspective, typically you're expected to submit a CPD at the end of each year, and all of that can be submitted online. But essentially, it's sort of reinforcing what Gayatri mentioned just now. I mean, it's important that we keep submitting and keep working through our learning. Learning doesn't stop ever. I mean, just imagine a situation where you are sort of sick and you go to a doctor, and the doctor ends up prescribing a sulfur drug which has been banned tens of years ago, just because that person is not actually updated with the latest technologies or latest medicines available. The plight of patients will be in absolute shambles, right? In the exact same sense, clients within the engineering industry expect that the engineers that work for them on their projects, they are updated so that they are able to adopt and provide solutions that really make sense for their own respective projects or problems, and provide them the latest possible solutions that really make sense for them and are sustainable and so on and so forth. So I think primarily the CPD requirement is coming from that thought process, that we need to keep ourselves upgraded and make sure that we are able to align our solutions that are currently applicable to the industry today. Any other questions?
Yeah, Rajesh, I'll just add a couple of more points to that.
Sure.
As everyone mentioned correctly, Gayatri and Rajesh, what I want to add is, please note that the whole process of CPDs, etc., is based on trust and is also auditable. So on a sample basis, the institutions conduct an audit, and if your luck doesn't exist on that year, you may be the person. So make sure you have proper documentation with you in case the audit comes up and you're supposed to, for example, an attendance sheet or something like that, it is good enough. That's the only requirement on countries. But this is a one-time process. I wouldn't say. No, I mean honestly, it's not difficult, but that's why we try to do this. The idea is it's a mental block. If I use strong words, it's a mental block. It's a cumbersome process. Okay, it's not easy process that you go apply and you'll get it. But if you follow the process, success is going to be there. Because all of us have done it, so we are speaking from experience. The process is time consuming. Like for example, you submit an application, they will take a definite period of time to review, come back to you. So there is a time lag. It's not a very quick process.
The application is well written. After that, there is only a question of preparing for the interview. Application well done.
Anil, since we are not able to hear the talk, can you please help us understand what's being discussed?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, Gayatri the question was, it's a difficult process, so the response is that it's not difficult, but it's a sort of a process which is lengthy and it's not complicated. But the main thing is that the application has to be clearly written, documented, and it goes back to the presentation where that understanding of competency is very important. See, to give you a reference point, engineers within 4 years of experience would become a chartered engineer. 4 years. And most of us, I would definitely say, based on the work that we do, we would have at least 5 or 6 years of experience. Some of us, or most of us, would be 10 years experience. So definitely experience is there. It's a question of documenting it in the right format, in the right way, so that the competency hits out at the reader. So that is very important. And that's where those communication skills, language skills become very important, of how you write, how you document the competency. Competency means what you have done, what was the result, what was the outcome. So there's a way of documenting it, which, when you work with your mentor or sponsor, they will help to guide you in a better way. But you need to make sure you write about what you have done, not what was the project all about. That's how typically we put our experience. We talk more about the project, less about what we have done. So that perspective changes when you go through this process. That perspective changes. Okay. Any other questions or thoughts or yeah?
Hello, this is Anchal from L&T. So I have a simple doubt, very clear doubt. I'm a design engineer. My task is to study the plot and design and furnish the design drawing, troubleshoot the problems, create site or anywhere. How am I going to learn about this project management stuff? Is there any I have to get a textbook and study it, read it on my own, or I'll have to discuss with my seniors about the problems? I'm not getting in on this point.
All right. Okay. So, others can add in. So don't be confused, if I can say, use that word, by those competencies. They are competencies, okay? Which means when you say project management, doesn't mean you have to be a project manager. Okay. It's about what in your role you manage. So suppose you're a design engineer, do you manage your work? Let me put it that way. How do you plan your work? How do you schedule your work? How do you make sure your work is on budget? So those are the things you have to look at. And that's where you need to work with your mentor or supporter in understanding, okay, how do you write that? So it's don't see this is a competency thing. It's not about being a project manager or being a project director. It doesn't talk about a role. It talks about competency. Competency means skill. So you could apply that competency in your role, whatever be the role, whether it's a junior engineer, senior engineer, project manager, project director, managing director, whatever it is. It's about that role. From that perspective, how the skills you're using for that particular role, how they fit into these competencies. That you have to see. You want to add?
But having said that, I will still emphasize on a couple of things. One, Anil is spot on when he says that you don't have to be a project manager, but in the role that you're playing, let's say you're the lead, you're the structural lead, you're the civil lead, there is still a scope of work that's given to you that you need to plan well and you need to execute, deliver it to budget within schedule, right? You have to be conscious about the quality. That's one part of it. But there is also an emphasis on, I think you touched upon, there's one whole section that talks about interpersonal skills. It talks about resource management. It talks about managing your team, right? So you could be a small team. You may not have 10 people with you, but even if you have a couple of people or you're working, you don't even have anybody working with you, but you're still working within a team. Is there, have there been opportunities where you have stepped in, you have conducted meetings, you have recorded, you've made minutes of meeting, because all that establishes your organizational skills, your planning skills, your ability to get along with other people. So while Anil correctly mentioned that it's a question of your competencies, but you have to make that extra effort, not just on focusing on the technical part. There is an emphasis on interpersonal skills. There is an emphasis on managing meetings, communications, resource management, all of that. So if you have not done it this far, if you've been sort of a loner in whatever you've been working, you've been managing, working as a single kind of, standalone kind of person, now is the time to start, take on that opportunity. So even if you're not the project manager, step in and see whether those opportunities you can grab. Tell the project manager, for this particular meeting, you attend meetings, right? Even if you're not the project manager, I'm sure you all attend team meetings, right? Seek that opportunity, say, let me conduct, or you conduct this meeting, but let me make the minutes of it, right? Let me sort of set the agenda, review it, publish it, but try to take on those activities. Because when you start putting all these things in the application, all that gaps will stare out otherwise. So you need to give evidence that you have addressed each and every one of those competencies, not E at a higher level or D at a higher level. You need to address D1, D2, D3, whatever, similarly E1, E2, E3. So every single competency has to be addressed. You have to give evidence for each one of those competencies. So if you know right upfront that you have those gaps, start building on it, right? But you have to see, now right? At least it's all published. You know where the gaps are. You can start looking for those opportunities to bridge those.
Yeah, I think great thoughts over there, Gayatri. I would totally agree with you. I mean, essentially, if you look at these 9 competencies that I'm sharing, which are nothing but the compressed version of those 17 competencies that Shatriya mentioned. So the idea is basically that as a chartered member or as a chartered engineer, you need to be able to demonstrate that you have something across each of these competencies. You have something that and you have partaken in some way or the other across all of these competencies. A simple question would be over here: even if you work as an individual, you don't have a team, as Gayatri also mentioned. Don't you really manage your own work yourself, in terms of you might be given a budget, you might be told that, okay, do this activity in 7 hours or 10 hours or 3 days. Don't you need to make sure that you plan for that and deliver it in 3 days? If your deliverable is actually having a quality issue, then you have to make sure that you correct that issue, you log it in a quality management system, and you sort of adopt that. So basically, idea is to demonstrate what is your understanding about quality management, what is your understanding about time management, what is your understanding about proposal management or project management. How do you as an individual contribute to all of these aspects in your respective role? Your role may be a small team member somewhere sitting in a small corner of the office, but or you might be a team leader, or you might be a project manager for a multi-million-dollar project. In each scenario, you still have to contribute to, or deliver to certain project management requirements, quality management requirements, and so on and so forth. So essentially, it's understanding of those management aspects, and how you deliver those from time to time, and what is your understanding of your role in that management system. Any other questions?
Okay, I don't think so. There are any other
Right. So,
questions.
I mean, I have been trying to ask this question for a long time now. How many of the audience or people who are online feel that they really don't understand any of these 9 competencies that you see on your screen? Knowledge and understanding of engineering, technical, practical application of engineering, management and leadership. Are there any bits over here that aren't understood? I mean, would anybody have any question about that? And again, I'm happy to take that question. And do you believe that there is nothing that you contribute to any of these 9 areas that are on your screen right now? Or you don't understand any particular attribute?
Any hands? No, there are no hands going up. Fausto. One.
Sure.
Hello. Am
Hello.
I
Yeah,
audible?
yeah, Rushikesh. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. My question was like, can you give some example on point number 7?
Okay.
Like typically, I think of it as, but can you give some specific example there?
Yeah, plenty of them, in fact. Sustainable development it all depends on what your projects have been, what your role has been, and so on and so forth. Some simple examples of sustainable development. Do you use, for example, as a civil engineer, are you supporting and promoting use of blended mixes of concrete rather than going for full cement mixtures where you are using GGBS or PFA as alternatives to cement? Are you looking at technologies which help reduce the cement content, because cement has got a huge carbon footprint issue? Everybody knows about it, right? So that could be a way you're contributing to the sustainability issues. Are you using techniques of construction which are much more efficient, much more simple, maybe from a health and safety point of view or overall cost point of view, wherein you're trying to use or minimize resources required or minimize energy required? So all of those kind of decisions or contributions that you make as a professional on a project can be categorized under sustainability or sustainable development criteria. Does that help you?
Yeah, that was a good example. Thanks.
Okay, great. Any other questions?
Yeah, I mean, because of time, let's take the last question.
Yeah, I think so. Let's do the last question now.
Also here, so I would like to understand commercial availability with respect to my scenario. Like I'm working, so we are working as a support office to US. My construction and procurement goes in US. The site is in US, but we are working here as a support office to them. So how commercial availability will be my kind of a forte to display in this city or for this engineer or chartered engineer registration?
Right. You said you are working as a procurement team member, is it? Supporting US projects.
Here
engineer while the site is in US. So I'm working in the water department at IMechE. So yeah.
Okay. Commercial ability from, okay. So when you're working on projects in the US, and what are you? You are a lead civil engineer, or you are a civil engineer working on a project?
Yeah, I'm a lead building systems engineer.
Right. So from your perspective, commercial ability will be probably looking at, are there any liquidated damages? So for example, if you're delivering a particular design, okay, then if you delay a particular deliverable, which is not being submitted on time, then there are some projects which actually attract significant LD, liquidated damages, for delays. So do you have an understanding about, are there LDs associated with your delay? So how contractually your company is affected because of non-performance of your deliverable? That could be a way you can demonstrate your understanding of commercial ability. That's one very simple example that I can think about right now, but there could be many more examples. It's important that you sort of work very closely with your mentor, who should be able to guide you, figure out those more examples that sort of meet these requirements. Does that help you, Kaustubh?
Yeah, somehow.
Okay, good. Any?
Yeah, I mean, it may be a challenge, but we need to understand, see, commercial from the word itself, it talks about commerce. So there are two parts. One is the financial part, second is the contracts part. So when you say commercial, typically it is these two parts. So money part would be simple for you. For example, you manage budgets, you make sure your designs are cost effective. Those sort of things are very easy. It's the contracts part, because you're not directly influencing the contract. But if you have, for example, worked on EPC or design build projects, traditional consultancy type of projects, speaking of, or Indian projects which are of a different contract type and condition. So if those aspects you are able to document, stating you have understood those terms and conditions. For example, there could be a PPP type of a contract, or an EPC or a design build, or just EPCM. So those type of projects, if there is an exposure or there is a gap, then that can be addressed.
Yeah.
So you need to look at it from those two perspectives. So one is the finance, one is contract. So that's how we look at opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, how each of these contract, contract formats actually affect you as a professional. For example, if you are working on time and materials type of contract, what does it mean to you as a professional? Do you have an understanding about that? Okay, or if you are working on a lump sum, how does that impact you as a professional working on a project? Okay, so having an understanding about those kinds of implications from a commercial perspective is pretty important. And that should be good enough to cover you on some of these, on this particular competency. And does that help you, Kaustubh?
Yes.
Okay.
So I think let's close this. So again, I would really thank all of you who are present online and attending this live at Black Veatch. Thanks a lot for joining us. I hope we have all learned something from this particular session, and we are all charged up and very enthused about applying for the chartership going forward. Feel free to connect with me if you are interested to apply through IC route. Again, I'm very happy to announce that the fast track program is actually available to us right now. So if you want to participate, just write to Patrick Courtney, and he should be able to quickly perform an assessment on your application and come back to you with any additional questions he has and support you through your process of becoming chartered. I am a qualified mentor of IC. Feel free to connect with me. If I can't support you because of my time constraints, I'll be more than happy to connect you with somebody else who will be able to or is willing to support you. Within IT, I think we have got a plethora of members who are internationally, they're qualified professional registration advisors, and we should be able to connect with you, with some of these IPRAs to help you go through your chartership process. From a CIWEM perspective also, I think we have got a huge number of chartered members who might actually help you going forward through your chartership route. So thanks a lot again for joining this particular lecture. I hope that we are all enthused, and I hope to see many applications coming out of this particular discussion. Thanks a lot, and have a good night and have a good weekend. Bye bye.
Yeah. Bye.